Three nuns are traveling in a bus when it crashes. All of the nuns died instantly and find themselves standing in front of the pearly gates, where Saint Peter is waiting for them. He said to the nuns, "Before I can let you into heaven, you each have to answer a question." To the first nun, Saint Peter asks, "Where did Adam meet the first woman?" The nun replied, "In the Garden of Eden." Saint Peter smiled, heavenly bells rang, and the pearly gates opened. Saint Peter then turned to the second nun and asked, "What was the name of the first woman in the Garden of Eden?" The second nun promptly replied, "Her name was Eve." Saint Peter smiled, heavenly bells rang, and the pearly gates opened. Saint Peter then turns to the final nun and asks, "What did Eve say when she first saw Adam in the Garden of Eden?" The nun was stumped and stood still for a very long time trying to recall the answer. "Ooh, that's a hard one," she muttered under her breath. Saint Peter smiled, heavenly bells rang, and the pearly gates opened. Every 10 years, the monks in the monastery are allowed to break their vow of silence to speak 2 words. 10 years go by and it's one monk's first chance. He thinks for a second before saying, "Food bad." 10 years later, he says, "Bed hard." It's the big day, a decade later. He gives the head monk a long stare and says, "I quit." "I'm not surprised," the head monk says. "You've been complaining ever since you got here." A nun, badly needing to use the restroom, walked into a local Hooters. The place was hopping with music and loud conversation, and every once in a while the lights would turn off. Each time the lights would go out, the place would erupt into cheers. However, when the revelers saw the nun, the room went dead silent. She walked up to the bartender and asked, "May I please use the restroom?" The bartender replied, "Okay, but I should warn you that there is a statue of a naked man in there wearing only a fig leaf." "Well, in that case, I'll just look the other way," said the nun. So the bartender showed the nun to the back of the restaurant. After a few minutes, she came back out, and the whole place stopped just long enough to give the nun a loud round of applause. She went to the bartender and said, "Sir, I don't understand. Why did they applaud for me just because I went to the restroom?" "Well, now they know you're one of us," said the bartender. "Would you like a drink?" "No thank you, but I still don't understand," said the puzzled nun. "You see," laughed the bartender, "every time someone lifts the fig leaf on that statue, the lights go out. Now, how about that drink?" A priest and a nun are caught in a blizzard. They find a deserted cabin and take shelter. They find a sleeping bag, a bed, and a pile of blankets. The priest, being a gentleman, offers the nun the bed and takes the sleeping bag for himself. As they get tucked in for the night, the nun calls out, "Father, Father, I'm cold." So the priest gets up and puts another blanket on the nun. "Is that better, sister?" he asks. "Yes, Father, much better," she replies. So he gets back in his sleeping bag and starts to nod off when she again calls out with, "Father, I'm still cold." So once again the priest gets up and puts another blanket on her, ensuring she is tucked into the bed well. "Is that better, sister?" he asks. "Oh yes, Father, that's much better," she says. So the priest gets himself back into the sleeping bag and this time is just starting to dream when he wakes up to her call of, "Father, Father, I'm just so cold." The priest thinks long about this and finally says, "Sister, we are in the middle of nowhere in a blizzard. No one but you, myself, and the Lord himself will ever know what happens here this night. How about, just for this night, we act as though we were married?" The nun thinks on this for a minute. She can't help but admit to herself she's been curious and finally answers with a tentative, "Okay, Father, just for tonight, we will act as though we are married." So the father replies, "Get up and get your own damned blanket, you cow," and rolls over to fall asleep. Subscribe Joke Station for more jokes. More jokes for more happy. Joke Station loves your laughter.